We often think of spiritual leaders as having it all together, having overcome the mundane struggles that plague the rest of us. But what if I told you that even the most revered figures in the Christian faith, often referred to as chosen ones, face a hidden struggle that they dare not speak of in public? That struggle is lust. We tend to put spiritual leaders on a pedestal, thinking they're infallible, that they've somehow transcended human weaknesses. But the truth is, they're human, just like you and me. They have the same temptations, the same desires, and the same flaws. The only difference is that they're expected to be perfect, and that expectation creates a sense of disconnection when they do face these human challenges. This puts them in a difficult spot, where they feel like they can't openly discuss their struggles, lest they be judged or lose their credibility. And that's precisely why it's essential that we shine a light on these hidden battles, to normalize the conversation and to show that even the most respected figures in the faith struggle with lust. The stigma surrounding lust is so strong that it's often swept under the rug, even in religious circles. But we need to acknowledge that it's a natural part of the human experience, and that even spiritual leaders aren't immune to it. By doing so, we can create a safer space for them to open up about their struggles, without fear of judgment or rejection. The psychology behind lust is complex, influenced by a mix of societal pressures, personal struggles, and past experiences. It's not just about physical attraction. It's about a deep-seated need for connection, for validation, and for love. Even the most respected figures in the faith experience these desires, and it's time we recognize that. From the pulpit to the pew, lust is a struggle that affects us all. It's time to break down the walls of silence and to create a culture of openness, where everyone feels safe to discuss their struggles without fear of judgment. Billy Graham, one of the most influential spiritual leaders of our time, is an excellent example of this. While he was known for his unwavering commitment to his faith, he, too, struggled with lust. In his book, Just As I Am, Graham shares about the temptations he faced during his early years of ministry, and how he had to constantly remind himself of his commitment to God. Graham's struggles serve as a powerful reminder that even the most revered figures in the faith are human, and that they, too, face temptations. His honesty about his struggles is a beacon of hope, showing us that it's okay to be vulnerable, to be honest, and to seek help when we need it. Billy Graham's story is a testament to the fact that lust is a struggle that affects us all, regardless of our position or status in the church. It's time we stopped pretending that spiritual leaders are immune to these struggles, and instead, created a culture of openness, where everyone feels safe to discuss their struggles without fear of judgment. We've all been guilty of putting spiritual leaders on a pedestal, assuming they're above human frailty. But this can create a false narrative, where we believe they're infallible and incapable of sin. The problem is, this perception can lead to a deep sense of disconnection when they do face human challenges like lust. We wonder, how could someone so holy struggle with something so base? And in that disconnect, we fail to acknowledge the very real struggles that even our spiritual leaders face. The stigma surrounding discussions of lust and faith only exacerbates the issue. It's a topic often swept under the rug, leaving those who struggle with feelings of shame and isolation. We must recognize that lust is a natural human desire, and one that even the most well-intentioned among us can struggle with. By ignoring this reality, we create a culture of silence and secrecy, where those who struggle are forced to do so alone. This dichotomy, between the perceived perfection of spiritual leaders and their very real human struggles, can have devastating consequences. It can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy, even among those who are meant to guide us. And it's precisely this kind of dichotomy that we must work to dissolve, by acknowledging that our leaders are, in fact, human. Lust is a complex issue, driven by a multitude of factors. Societal pressures, personal insecurities, and even biological impulses can all contribute to its emergence. And yet, we often view it as a personal failing, rather than a natural human response. This black and white thinking can be damaging, as it neglects the nuances of the human experience. Even the most respected figures in the faith community are not immune to these pressures, and it's essential that we acknowledge this reality. For instance, in a society that objectifies women and prioritizes physical beauty, it's no wonder that even spiritual leaders can struggle with lust. The constant barrage of airbrushed images and suggestive advertising can take its toll, even on the strongest of wills. And when we add personal struggles like insecurity, low self-esteem, or past trauma to the mix, the battle with lust can become even more pronounced. Billy Graham, for example, was known for his strong moral character and dedication to faith. And yet, in his own words, he confessed to struggling with lust throughout his life. He spoke candidly about the temptation of women and the constant battle to remain faithful to his wife. This kind of honesty is rare, and it's precisely what we need more of in our conversations around faith and lust. In his book, Just As I Am, Billy Graham shared a powerful anecdote about his own struggle with lust. He confessed to being tempted by a young woman who had approached him for counseling, and how he had to confront his own desires in order to remain faithful to his vows. This kind of vulnerability is rare, and it's precisely what we need more of in our conversations around faith and lust. Billy Graham's story serves as a powerful reminder that even the most respected figures in the faith community are not immune to the struggles of lust. They, too, are human, and they, too, face temptations and desires that can be difficult to overcome. By acknowledging this reality, we can begin to create a culture of openness and honesty, where those who struggle are met with compassion and understanding, rather than judgment and condemnation. In conclusion, it's essential that we recognize the commonality of the struggle with lust, even among our spiritual leaders. By doing so, we can create a culture of understanding and empathy, where those who struggle are met with love and support, rather than shame and isolation. Thanks for watching, and be sure to comment below with your thoughts on this topic. If you want to explore more spiritual challenges, be sure to check out my next video, where I'll be diving deeper into the struggles of faith.